every time I looked around.
I figured he would be.
Yeah. He's always a little off.
Yeah.
I would like to call the January meeting of the Maumelle Civil Service Commission to order. Got a pretty big agenda tonight, but I don't think we've got any public comments or under old business. All we have is the approval of the December 13th, 2021 minutes, and you should have a copy of those. When you're ready, I will entertain a motion.
I'll move approval. I have read them.
Have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say yes. Yes. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. I was noticing, I was watching one of our replays the other night for some weird reason. I must have been absolutely bored out of my mind. Everybody pull your microphones down, because I notice I'm bad about not doing that too. Might make it a little easier for our secretary too when he tries to recreate all this.
I'm the only one who watches.
All right, under new business, Chief Ezell is requesting 2 temporary promotions, a lieutenant to captain and a firefighter to lieutenant. Chief, before you get started, I wanted to say we've enjoyed your time here in Maumelle. I think you've done a heck of a job. Our loss looks like Joplin's gain.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the support I've gotten from you guys all along the way. I mean, well, at least a couple of you have been here my entire time. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the challenge going up there.
How much
but I'm going to miss this place.
How much bigger a department is it up there?
Currently 96 personnel. I get to hire 13 this coming year, so we'll be up to 109.
Pretty good size.
How many stations?
6 presently, 7 coming in 2022. That's one of the things I get tasked with right away is building Station 7 up there. Temporary promotions, so I've got a captain that is deploying for 63 days. And it's on a shift that's already kind of short manned, and as we were kind of talking before the meeting, I've got several out with COVID, so this is even more important now for this to go forward. But I have one person on the the promotional list for captain who just happens to thankfully be on the shift that I'm needing this for. So I'm asking for him to move up to a temporary captain for the 63-day period that this individual's gone. And then in another instance to help out, because this person would be able to fill 3 roles, he would be able to play firefighter, lieutenant, or captain. I'm asking for this firefighter that we have used in the past. We have depleted our lieutenant's list as far as, because I just promoted a young man to lieutenant first of the year. January 1st was his first day as a lieutenant. So this is a senior firefighter, and once again, thankfully, he's on the shift that is directly affected, so I'm asking for him to step up as a lieutenant. Budgetarily, it's not going to have any impact on us. We've got enough savings from one young man who should be coming back in a few weeks from his 15-month deployment. So, yeah.
That's an awfully short deployment, the one you're asking about.
Yeah, it's some kind of a officer class or something down there that they're asking him to go to. So.
Madam City Attorney, I think, by default, a temporary appointment is for 60 days.
Correct. If it's
Can we override that in a situation like this where we already know it's going to be 63 to keep a subsequent chief or an acting chief from having to come back and ask for this for just a few days?
We have done that in the past where, I think it was when Chief Eaton was deployed for a year. We got, you guys all approved.
We had dates.
Chief
We had
Cossey,
something to
well,
work
Chief
with.
Cossey spent the entire year
Yeah.
as a temporary promotion there, so.
I believe we've phrased that this would terminate upon the return of whoever.
Right, of the ranking person coming back.
I think the 60 days is really supposed to be limited to when they're not seeking Civil Service Commission approval. No temporary appointment regardless of pay implications may continue for more than 60 days without approval of the Civil Service Commission. So I think in this, for this type of case, it would be acceptable to go ahead and approve it for a few days more,
Okay.
as long as the commission approves.
Do we need to do this in the form of two motions, since there are two positions? I guess we would, wouldn't we?
It's possible, I guess you could approve one and not the other, so probably best, take them one at a time.
I'll go ahead and make the motion. I don't usually do this, but, no, I think I got it in my head what we need to do here. In the case of the temporary appointment from lieutenant to captain, I would make a motion that we approve that, and it will be in effect until the return of
Captain Grove is the
Captain
one
Grove.
that's, yep.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. That one carries. I'll just go ahead and make the next one then. We have a request to move a firefighter to lieutenant on a temporary promotion. I will go ahead and make that motion and ask for a second.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Got them both.
Thank you.
Good luck to you, Chief.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I understand Chief Pickard has a presentation for the commission. This is trouble, I can tell.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
So I have two requests that would change a couple of civil service rules, if I can. And the first one is, I would like to change the amount of time that a probationary police officer is on probation with the city of Maumelle. Currently, an applicant appointed to a position of entrance from the entrance exam list, which is both police and fire, is on probation for 12 months before the appointment is complete. Currently with the academy taking 3 months, and we have an additional 3 months with FTO program, I would like to see that probationary period extended to 24 months for a police officer. According to the Arkansas state law, it wouldn't affect the fire department, they can only do it 1 year, but for the police department, we can increase it up to 24 months, and I would like to see that happen.
What is this document that I'm looking at? Where is that from?
This, I have one document up there that is from the North Rock Civil Service Commission, that's about my second proposal.
I'm looking at the other one, the
You're looking
ACA.
at the statute.
That's the statute, and highlighted, section 7A, lines out where we're allowed to increase it to 24 months.
Okay.
I just wanted to show my reasoning and what reference I had. Sorry, my vision is messed up since my eye surgery, so I couldn't see it.
What'd you have done?
I had LASIK done, but I have one eye that's still blurry.
My eye file's that thick. I mean, my eye doctors, all the stuff they've done to me, he said I can teach a whole college just with your file. So basically, we are trying to extend the period, the probationary period for a new officer for up to 2 years.
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That gives us more time to evaluate them when they're on their own, and we can actually see what they're capable of.
Any discussion?
I have a question.
Commission, go.
Any other police departments you know of have this long of a probationary period?
Yes, ma'am, North Little Rock, and there are some others, but North Rock is right here next door to us. They do a 2-year probationary period for brand-new officers that are just going through the academy, and they do a 1 year for certified officers coming in, if they have 2 years or more experience.
And this follows Fair Labor Standards guidelines?
I would
Seems like
assume
a long time.
it's state law.
Civil Service Commission is a little bit different than your ordinary Fair Labor Standards Act rules, because most employers don't have Civil Service Commission rules. So they're more employment at will. Mr. Northern is knowingly shaking his head.
But
without relying on any legal advice, I can speak to the fact that the statute does permit it up to 2 years, and there's no prohibition to limiting a probationary period otherwise. It is a long period, but I didn't realize we had, the first 6 months, you're not even really seeing them.
Yes, sir.
So,
And then if there's any sick leave taken or
Yeah.
any emergencies that pop up,
Yeah.
then it pretty much wipes out.
have you had a situation before where somebody had gotten through their probationary period and you wish you had more time to assess them before?
Yes, sir, it has happened in the past. And I'm not opposed, it says up to 24 months if the commission feels that's too long. 18 months would be the least I'd ask for.
They give you a year.
That would give us a year after the
Well,
academy.
that's what I was gonna say. Did you consider getting past the 6 months and then doing a 12-month window?
That's on the table as well. I just offered, or went for the long shot at 24 months on this
I
one.
mean, I guess as an employee, I would think, gosh, that's an awful long time to be on probation.
That could be, but with the
Motivational.
responsibilities that come with law enforcement, I like the long period of accountability through discharging them if they do not meet the criteria.
Are there any other rights, I'll call them, that vest after the probationary period other than discharge?
Not really. Not that I'm aware of. Then they appeal to the commission.
We also have officers that sometimes during that year, and this, maybe 2 years, wouldn't have military leave for, 2 to 3 months at a time, so that can also even be.
Awesome.
Do we have the authority to extend does the chief have authority to extend probation outside of 12 months in those circumstances, or is he
That's
limited?
been our practice.
Yeah.
Not to.
I don't think our rules have really addressed that, and I don't think we've done that as a practical matter.
Offhand, I can't think of at a time that we have extended a probationary period because of, with it being written down with the commission rules of 12 months.
Well, it's always dicey to have discretion built into any policy, so
Correct.
it's probably a good thing. Or, is it in any way a retention or recruitment issue to extend the leave? Does it make it harder to find good officers?
I don't believe so, no, sir.
Any additional discussion? Then I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Just to clarify procedurally, what we're basically doing is you'd be directing me to draft a rule change, and we would
Yeah.
still have to vote on the rule change itself.
And we would have to advertise it as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so this is, all we're doing tonight is directing you to draft a rule change
For consideration.
for consideration. Okay, go ahead, sir.
I'll move for our city attorney to draft a rule change to reflect, a probationary period of 24 months
Police officer.
for police officers.
Any more discussion? Do I hear a second?
Second.
No more discussion? All in favor, say yes.
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 Any opposed,
Yes.
no. Motion carries.
Now for my second part.
Yes, sir.
This is something that I think would make us a little bit more, looking at the market for police officers and the fact that everybody is looking for police applicants currently. What I'm proposing is a certified police officer only at testing. Now, in speaking with the city attorney, there's only one other city I know of currently that is doing this, which is North Little Rock. And currently, I think there's at least 8 to 10 agencies that are hiring, and I just wanted to make us as competitive and shrink the time that we expend on training for hiring new officers. And if I could bring in a new certified officer, I cut about 6 months of training out. So I'm asking that I be given the option to run a certified police officer only exam.
It is my understanding that the city recently upped our police person's pay.
Correct.
And we are now competitive with surrounding areas.
Yes, sir. I think we're very competitive at this
Good
point.
deal.
So I'd kind of like to start stealing other officers.
Mm-hmm.
So currently, we're only allowing applicants for both?
Currently, when we test, both certified officers and civilians all take the same test and are then graded and ranked accordingly.
And certified law enforcement officers are already trained, they've already been through the academy or certified, right?
Yes, sir. And in order to qualify as a certified police officer, they would have to have done at least 1 year with their previous agency in order, so that there's no monetary commitment that I would have to pay that agency, which they can ask for during that first year.
This would be another
I don't see why we wouldn't.
direction to Madam City Attorney to
I-
prepare.
I have some concerns.
Okay,
I
go
would
ahead.
like to express about this, and it's under the same statute that you already have, the 1451-301. This sets out the items that your rules have to contain. And under 2A, which is, well, I don't have the same page numbering as you guys do, but it's about a page in. On 2A, it says that your rules must provide for open competitive examinations to test the relative fitness of applicants for positions. And then also on 5A, it does have criteria for rejection of candidates. You know, if they have a felony conviction, if they can't meet the physical requirements or, you know, their age requirements for some, you know, fire department positions and some things like that. And it has some limits on that. I have not been able to get comfortable with having an examination that's only limited to certified law enforcement officers under the statutes we have right now. It may be that we can get, you know, if an attorney general opinion comes out, if we get some revisions to this statute by the legislature, that they may provide for that, because I know it's a need that a lot of cities have. But just with the current state of the law, we do award additional points to
Right.
certified law enforcement officers.
Right.
So like if they test with everyone else, you know, that meets the eligibility requirements, they do get a bump up because they're a certified law enforcement officer. They're more likely to be in those, you know, the top 3 to be considered first. And then, of course, you know, the chief is going to look upon that favorably as he considers the different candidates that he has to consider. So we are giving them some advantage, but I just can't quite get comfortable with having a test that's limited to just certified law enforcement officers.
So your legal advice to the council or the commission then would be to wait until we have a more clear, possibly Attorney General's opinion on this?
Or any legal authority that
Some legal
would be in
authority.
support of it, either a change in the statute, an attorney general opinion, case law, anything that could clarify that issue, whether it's permitted.
Any more discussion?
I think she's right, but I think it's a good idea and something we ought to figure out a way how to do it.
I agree, it's a good idea, I just,
Yeah, I agree too.
So would it be a different test? They would still be tested, right?
If I did it the way that North Little Rock does it, there would not be a written examination, but they would have the physical fitness test that we partake in and a panel interview. Everything else would be the same.
How do they do it? Do they have a different statute?
They have a different city attorney.
Different legal.
Everybody's got the
opinion.
same statute.
Good point.
Now, I have a question for Ms. Krebs. Is your language concerned from 2A, or is there somewhere else?
it's more, 2A is the focus, but then also, if you look at 5A, that talks about the reasons that we can reject candidates that would otherwise be eligible, you know, it's pretty limited.
It doesn't give that reason.
Right, it doesn't make any allowance for, you know, certain
Can you-
qualifications.
Can you explain to me the provision in 4A(I)(B)? The bottom of page 2 of the handout. If the board creates an eligibles list on an as-needed basis and a vacancy is created, that's only due to death, termination, resignation, demotion, retirement, or promotion, right?
So, 4A(I)(B) deals with promotions, right?
The eligibles list.
Okay, I'm gonna have to read it out loud, I'm sorry. If the person designates an effective period for eligibles list of more than 1 year under subdivision B4 of this section, a person shall be eligible for examination for advancement from a lower rank to a higher rank if the person is within 12 months of meeting the time and service requirement for eligibility. However, if that person takes,
I'm looking at a different section. Sorry.
what, okay, where are you? I don't have the
Okay.
same printout that you guys do. Can I borrow yours, Billy?
Which one?
Your floor box?
Thought I had an extra.
Oh, that's my Little Rock rules. Okay, so you're looking at the statute, right?
Look to the inside, right here. Right here.
3,
4A,
4A.
B.
okay.
This is an eligibles list.
Creation, maintenance, transmission, training.
I just have one question whenever you get done.
If the board creates an eligibles list on an as-needed basis, okay, so let me go up to find exactly what that is. Because there are some sections, I have the full statute here, and there are some items that I'm not seeing, okay. The creation and maintenance. Oh, I see. I was looking at 2B. The creation and maintenance of current eligibles lists for each rank of employment. I'm looking at A first so I can get the context a little bit. In which shall be entered the names of successful candidates in the order of their standing in the examination. However, for ranks in each department where there may not be openings during the effective period of a list, the board may establish the rules to create the eligibles list on an as-needed basis. So, okay, let's say there aren't any openings at the time, but they go ahead and create a list maybe later on when it's needed. Okay, if the board creates an eligibles list on an as-needed basis and a vacancy is created as a result of death, termination, resignation, demotion, retirement, or promotion, the chief of the fire department or police department shall notify the board within 5 business days, and the board shall schedule an examination to establish an eligibles list from which an appointment or promotion shall be made unless the position is determined to be eliminated or not funded by the governing body of the city. Okay, so if one of those things happens and they suddenly need someone, but they don't have a list, then they could
Come to us,
get a
5
list
days, we can
together.
create one.
Yeah,
My question is this, is that limited to internal? I thought this was more common, but do we have an eligibles list, Chief?
We do not currently.
We don't have an eligibles list?
we've exhausted
We've
our
exhausted the
eligibles
one that we
list.
had in
We
2020.
had an
We have
eligibles
one,
list,
it's just
but
not-
it's
yeah.
empty
Just
now.
no one on it.
I'm just sitting here for staffing needs. Is the need for
We have 5 openings currently.
the flexible hiring with the certified officers only, is that to fill positions? Is that the idea?
Yes, sir.
So we can,
Cutting time?
Yes, sir.
we can always set additional test dates. This is if you have rules in your civil service commission where you don't necessarily set a test date if you don't have openings.
Got it.
So if you do, you know, in our situation, our rules spell out that we have certain typical test dates in a year, but they do specify that we can always add additional test dates, and we've done that.
Right.
And we'll continue to do it, it looks like,
Yeah.
for the near future.
Okay, can we go back to the request and the A that you read? I can get comfortable with it because it says open competitive examinations. You could have what are we asking for, the term? One that is
Certified.
certified and one that's not, examination, the way I read it. Because it's examinations.
Is that what we're currently doing?
No,
We currently have 1 exam,
just one.
1 written exam.
Well, it
He's
also,
asking for a second one.
It also specifies if, when you have the open competitive examinations, it talks about the written test. The examinations are to be protected from disclosure and copying, except that the Civil Service Commission shall designate a period of time following the conclusion of testing in which an employee taking the examination shall be entitled to review his or her results. The employee may not copy test questions. So, and then our rules have discussed, using like nationally approved tests. So I think it's pretty clear that they expect your open competitive examination to include a written test.
And you're proposing not to have a written test?
Yes, ma'am.
I think where we are, I think everybody agrees that on the surface of it, this is a pretty good idea. But there are some problems on the backside of it. Madam City Attorney, how would you suggest, in your legal opinion, that we proceed? If we proceed.
I would delay at this point, having a test that's not open to everyone who's eligible under the statute, meaning they meet the age requirements, they're not a felon, those requirements that are set out in the statute. You know, I think, you know, of course, we continue with the points that we do award based on qualifications, with, I think, the most heavily weighted category being that you're a certified law enforcement officer. And I do hate that we have trouble getting certified law enforcement officers to come in and go through the testing process. I just don't think the statute is set up to not have that. It's not that if I were writing the law, I wouldn't write it this way, but it is what we have.
Does the chairman have authority to seek an Attorney General opinion?
You would need to get,
A representative?
correct. The city attorney can't get an AG opinion anymore either.
Really?
Are we not budget or general session? Or budget session, right?
How did North Little Rock get around it?
Good question.
They read it differently.
Some city attorneys might say, well, it doesn't say you can't,
Right.
but that's not always right.
Well, the way I'm reading
I
this,
mean,
is
different-
they do have a test, but it's just for certified officers.
Well, if it's just for certified officers, it's not open. I don't read it as being an open test because the qualifications are set out for, that you have to meet certain age qualifications, that you can't have a felony. For law enforcement officers, they have to meet the requirements of CLEST as far as, you know, the background check and those kinds of things.
So the issue is what the legislature intended when they said open competitive examinations.
In my understanding, based on a complete reading of that section, is that they include the written examinations as being part of that open and competitive examination, and then they set out the reasons for which somebody can be disqualified for an open and competitive examination. And the reasons: the rejection of candidates as eligibles who fail to comply with reasonable requirements of the board in regard to age, sex, physical condition, who have been guilty of a felony or of attempted fraud or deception in connection with the examination. There's not any allowance there for someone who's not a certified law enforcement officer. That's not a reason that we can reject someone to come in and test for position.
So you would not proceed at all?
I wouldn't at this time, and I'm not saying I wouldn't reconsider that if we had any authority that indicated that was allowed under these rules, or there were any change to the rules.
Can a Civil Service Commission chairman with heavy support from a city attorney request an Attorney General's opinion?
I can't request one, and as far as I know, I don't believe a Civil Service Commission chairman can either.
I'm
Now,
asking because I don't know.
We could
But you
see
could find
if
a
anyone
legislative
has,
sponsor.
you know, a connection to someone in the legislature. That's certainly a possibility if they would like to do that. Then we also run the risk that we get an opinion that then harms other cities that are doing this, which we would be unpopular, but
But with our biggest competitor fishing out of the same candidate pool being North Little Rock, and they don't require it, and we do, and the pay is comparable, I can see where it'd be attractive for them. So, I mean, we're all certified to drive on the roads of Arkansas, but we don't have to sit down and take another test yearly, although that might be a good idea, but we don't have to. And if you're already a certified officer, I think you're done testing written. And is the written exam the same everywhere you go? Is it standardized, or is it different city to city?
We use a national test that we purchase from a provider.
Okay.
Chief, let me postpone your request.
Yes, sir.
For now.
Okay.
Give me a chance to delve a little more into the background and possibly speak to someone who can get an AG's opinion, and whether that's wise or not, I will.
Sir?
Let's just postpone it for now. I'll come back to it.
Well, I appreciate the commission's time.
Yes, sir.
Makes sense.
All right, let's see. Madam HR Director is going to give us an update on new hires and entry-level exams for police and fire.
Yes, thank you. First, I would like to request a vote to amend the agenda to approve postponing the Fire Division Chief promotional process to April. The reason for my request is that we have a candidate, as Chief mentioned earlier, Captain Grove, who is going on deployment for 63 days. This falls in the period where we would be having the promotional exams. We have 3 potential candidates, 2 of which who have in writing have expressed their willingness to postpone that process until Mr. Grove gets back. So I would like to have you all vote on postponing just the Fire Division Chief promotional process to a date we select in April.
so we need 2 motions on this one. The first one would be to move to amend the agenda to consider this question, and then the second would be the date change.
Let's go ahead and I'll ask for a motion to amend the agenda to include this item.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say yes.
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 Yes. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. And now we need a motion to,
I'll make a motion to postpone the promotional testing for fire department's
Division Chief?
division chief until a date in April that can be later agreed upon.
I think the spirit of all that, especially since we have the other 2 potential applicants agreeing to it, is for full competition, and I like that. I'll second.
That sealed it for me.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? What is our date? Do we know yet?
The April date, we haven't decided yet.
Okay. You'll
It'll
set
be
that
a date in April to be
to be determined.
determined.
Is there any chance the deployment could be extended? No, okay,
It's a training.
got it.
Have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say yes.
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 Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
All right, thank you, and I just wanted to give you all an update. We will hold another entry police examination on February the 12th. That has already been announced in a newspaper ad, and we have, so far in 3 or 4 days, we have 10 applicants, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that by the 26th of this month that we'll have several more applicants on that. And from our last list, we have promoted, or excuse me, not promoted, but we've offered employment to 2 entry officers. They've both accepted those those offers and are starting the academy when, Chief? Actually, yesterday?
They started yesterday.
Yep. So that's all I have.
We'll see them in July.
What is, the academy's 3 months?
Yes, sir, 13 weeks.
Okay. So still, it takes you a while till you have boots on the ground.
Yes, sir, it'll be
I understand.
by July, August.
All right, anything else before I entertain a motion to go into executive session to formulate promotion questions.
This is Chief Azel's last commission meeting.
This
Thank
is
you,
it.
Chief.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I move for executive session.
Have a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second, any discussion
Do we need to state the reason for going into executive session?
to formulate, promotion questions?
Yeah. That's part of my motion.
Gotcha. Put that in there, Mr. Secretary, please.
Got it.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes, any opposed, no. Motion carries, we are in executive session.
Change my second then.
Gotta meet that FOIA requirement.
Does that game start?
I know you can't request that.
So proud of him.
You'll still hear me yelling from up there.
Yeah, yeah.
I just wanna make sure I turn your fault. It'll be the worst executive session ever.